I am Robert Starring Price, and I'm building the futurist, functionalist, private Starship industry. This industry consists of a $3 trillion IPO that is a private property of the people in the IPO. It's not anything to do with any government, and that's why it's got private in the name. Also, I probably should just get out there that the base real matter is highly transparent, structured, inert, non-particle form matter, and that you need to understand that in order to understand every single thing of every extraterrestrial vehicle, component, and thing of an exponential, basically an exponential subatomic revolution that is coming, and the future is so vast and so massive it's incomprehensible. Pretty much. I don't know if this stupid drawing. This is a depiction of a UFO. It's terrible. But basically, this depiction has a hard mass levitator in it. And basically, the forces that are generated that go through the base raw matter when densified sometimes exfoliate into the normal space fabric, and they can be intentionally made to do this, or they could be just a result of fucking careless operation and design. But it's an exponential infinity of realm and realities and forces. It's all to the trillionth scale of the subatomic particle, so it's freaking beyond comprehension. And there's not a single internet program or computer capable, even the main ripped base fabric supercomputer, which was a $12 million supercomputer that the United States Congress paid for me to get a mind reading supercomputer. But they investigated it over 3 times and looked into it and looked at the CIA. Which the first thing the CIA did with the discovery of the base raw matter was eventually make a ripped base fabric plastic spy gear. I told Bill Clinton on the spy network 2 weeks before he left that Satan's army stole the ripped base fabric plastic spy gear. And guess what happened? They mass produced the spy gear that they made off the Russian harmonic bug. It's not the same. The Russian harmonic bug versus the ripped base highly transparent plastic spy gear, it kind of operates the same, but this is a bug that takes in energies and emits basically computer structure space fabric that only a supercomputer can read. So the CIA did not have the ability to read their own spy gear that they manufactured and planted in every government on Earth. So this main horrifying recurring nightmare is what actually destroyed every government on Earth, and actually secret society, every human on Earth being spot onto the trillionth scale of the subatomic particle. So this is the main thing that the governments of the world are wrestling with, but not publicly. They know this happened, they turn a blind eye to it, and they run away as hard as they freaking possibly can. Because in absolute reality, that government's dead and that money is worthless worldwide. I have to tell you this or I'm going to die. I can't stand it anymore. So anyway, the base raw matter, unused by the CIA, mainly us, the subatomic revolutionaries out there, by people building the Starship, we're going to densify it to make the miniaturized Starship. We're going to try to prove to you and understand the dynamics in extraterrestrial vehicles. Kind of. So I got off on a tangent there again. Oh my god. That's fun. But, so we'll just pause there and go somewhere else. Yeah. That's what we do. And, okay. So when you spoliate the base raw matter, alright, out of a hard mass levitator, it will typically go out the bottom of the direction of force and start putting pressure and load on the space fabric and cycle around. But this is actually called an exfoliated magnetic field. Basically, this is the standard type of a magnetic field. But basically, this is upside down compared to a magnet. The magnet at the North Pole usually will put out the base raw matter and exfoliate the space fabric. And this is just called exfoliated space fabric. And it'll pull little voids and vacuums in this south pole of the magnet and suck it in. There's more than one way to build a magnet. once you really discover the base world matter and see it. So basically, a hard mass levitator is densified nonpolar matter, which gets the forces from it reacting a particle, a blob, or a void, and superaccelerates those to the bottom of the craft, lifting the whole craft up millions of thousands of tons like it's nothing. And damn, I'm getting in brain fog there. Shit. And this helps the vehicle levitate and fly. But extraterrestrials are so like almost thousands of millions of years ahead of understanding this so completely that they use this mass exfoliation to cloak their vehicles. They generate the base world matter. They push it out of the vehicle, and it surrounds their vehicle. That will alter the forces that are transiting the blobs and nonpolar matter through that create the photons of light. They perfectly control it while using an FDL AI core, a souped up supercomputer that's hard mass, trillions, probably thousands of tons of hard mass that's densified, that's levitated, and then it's got computer code, it's got a computer force code running through that mitigates all the light. So all these extraterrestrials are perfectly cloaked that are in atmosphere, except the ones that are being seen in telescopes in the solar system. And there's possibly, you have this scientific group of extraterrestrials flying through the main battlefield of outer space, the entire space, with impunity. They can go anywhere they want, or there's a constant presumed war, artillery firing, size of planets. There's constant pressure on that side of the galactic arm, or some aliens that flee. And sometimes we see CIA imagery of UFOs and even spacecraft that humans have made get shot by energy weapons. It's kind of common, or it's so small and meaningless it gets in one frame. So I'd like to. So there was this Canadian that spied on NASA's signal to go off on the tangent, and he got in one frame an energy weapon shot, and basically it looks like just energy, but it's the base world matter, it's computer structure and spacecraft, and they shot at the International Space Station. Now, I don't know if they still do it, and that's the only guy that ever really proved anything, but that's on the UFO video, which I have, but I'm not going to find it because I probably can't. But we know this happens, so. And what are we going to do? We're just going to build a miniaturized starship and free mankind to the stars and let you colonize other Earth-like worlds to get on a flank of an extraterrestrial force we literally know nothing about. That's the main plan. See, if we send the military out there and we build gigantic dreadnoughts, they'll just shoot them down like they're nothing. But if we build a whole bunch of miniaturized starships for nice, God-fearing Christians, when the alien empire watches every subatomic movement in the galaxy, they know they can smell your shit, your farts before you do. Okay, the base world matter is highly transparent, structured, inert, non-polar matter. Those supercomputers can put dynamic loads on that space fabric to trillions of scales of subatomic particle, and they can smell what you breathed out when you ate your breakfast, or better than your brain can comprehend it. You stinky bad breath, you ate this for breakfast, yeah. They can interpret that at a level that you can't even fathom. So you have these main extraterrestrials that are doing all the work on planet Earth, scientific study, and then you have possibly 3 vessels that are half or a mile wide that come and go in and out of atmosphere, but they control this region of space. There's possibly extraterrestrials that are just caught up in the trash around planet Earth, playing around in it, and we don't know. There's some pictures in telescopes that look like some type of artillery that we don't exactly understand or know exactly why they're using that. But We don't know if that is another faction of extraterrestrials that are coming from the very edge of the galaxy to us, trying to claim this region of space while this other main empire is doing this. And also, there's the extraterrestrial Imperial hard mass drone, like a small cube, triangle, pyramid, or maybe, I don't know if this spear counts. It might be just, the spear may be like an extraterrestrial engine mine. See, you have this spear and it's got balls in it, and they fly around once it gets inside of a big normal starship engine, like on Star Wars or something. It'll fly around until it gets this dynamic forward mass and goes into this engine, starts spinning these other balls around, creating a density, creating a structural critical mass, and explode. That's what I'm thinking that like the spears are, but they may just be some kind of freaking Starship plug, or basically like aperture plug or something. You have a starship, an extra starship, and they just plug up the hole and they shoot them out. Hey, we don't need this. We came by planet Earth and we shoot this spear out of there and it'll float around for a while and just die. We don't exactly know what the hell that's for. Maybe it's just something to cover up the hole on the outside of the ship without getting out on the outside of it. But and it's just this is a fun set of experiences, but it's extremely important. So I totally lost you and myself. So when you have a exfoliated space fabric, all right, you have the main extraterrestrial vehicle that has the FTL supercomputer in it. It's all hard mass. It is exfoliating space fabric. It is taking in space fabric on some modes and crushing it and injecting particles out of it. And these particles just fly off and they'll come out as radiation, but they'll be stripped of hard mass and base raw matter, so they're literally undetectable. And that is a type of dimensionalization. But this universe is a universe. There is no freaking other dimension. But you can dimensionalize particles. See, there's natural subatomic particle dimensionalization. There's natural, and there's, man-made or alien-made, whatever, mechanicalized dimensionalizations. But it's still a universe. There's no real other dimensions. But I didn't have to digress on that. Anyway. So you have a hard mass levitator. It took in natural space fabric and compacted and compressed it, and the particles were shot out. But that density of hard mass has got the energy in it to the twin scales of the particle. It ripped all the hard mass from that particle. That particle's gone. It's literally undetectable in the space fabric for several 100,000 feet. But it does go speed and does have dynamics in other non-polar matter. So it's not a big deal. But if I shot a particle correctly and I energized the non-polar matter around it, I could hide that particle, and that would be called a dimensionalization of that mass. But if I had a bunch of particle beams or a bunch of particles going out in the beam, that's the whole spray, and I could dimensionalize that non-polar matter and that ambient space fabric, that normal space fabric, and I can hide and cloak that. But I can build a structure and I put a load, that is a charge in atmosphere or whatever. And then I have that bunch of non-polar matter pressing on those particles. I can take those particles back through the aperture and do something, whatever the hell I wanted with them. But doing that is not a necessity. It's just proving how good I am as an engineer and inventor. But really, it's just coming down to what the Starship will be used for. The Starship will be just used for Plan A. That is freeing people to the stars to create the innumerable Christian people eventually. They'll just go out there, find another Earth-like world, and this flying car is so good, runs at 100 trillion times speed light, they will come back to work for an exponential subatomic revolution, or just regular jobs on planet Earth, whatever the hell they're doing. But they'll fly in a miniaturized starship. And step one and two, or step two is pretty much to industrialize these colonies and settlements with factories that have minimal workforce. Basically, a factory that has computer structured, densified non-performant matter that can assemble something without vast amounts of people. We got 8 billion people to feed. We got 8 billion people to work, clothe, and work, and get them all in a society that is better than the first world. So we got to build a system, a subatomic revolution, that takes the human race to a, not a first world position, but even higher. What is that, like 0.7, 0.4 or something so fucking great that it can never fall, ever. It'll never allow the human race to go back into degeneration or degenerate activity. You got computer structured space fabric. Around the house, you got computer densified non-form matter being injected in the space fabric, computer structured space fabric, or to a total envelope, a computer structured hard mass shield. No one can hit you with artillery or tank rounds or anything. Or if there's a massive alien monster, it'll just stop at that bubble shield, and your sentient supercomputer say, "Hey, I stop that. I can see that well. I can tell it's poison veins from here." You know. What about a subatomic droid brain? Yes, we're going to FTL a computer component equivalent or manufactured like a droid brain. You got a subatomic droid brain. That's hard mass. That's FTL forces equivalent to like 2 billion people, 3 billion, some. Who knows? Basically, all the structures of the human mind been accounted for by the CIA. I tell you that. So you can be aware of the realities, all the structures of the memory and all the mechanical. They're well known, but they're hiding them. Oh yeah, they're definitely hiding them. So you got a lot of other things to make your mind itch. But so we industrialize the colonies, but then so Earth is still unattainable. We cannot defend Earth unless we get out on the flanks of this vast extraterrestrial universe out there. So we got to colonize with regular people first, having the justifications of military force. So probably 80 years will go by after this colonization for military forces to be made, and it will be an experience like the best soldiers probably ever seen by man will be from these colonies. And so, since I got the actual person that got Halo made, and the F-117 and all, pretty much the entire technological revolution, I'd say that behind it all. But so you have people growing up on colonies for a couple generations, and then these people are cultivated or volunteer to hire in a military-like force. And basically, it starts. We will not allow. I will not allow UNSC to be made from the people of planet Earth. Only when their colonies on other Earth-like worlds that an actual United Nations Space Command can be made, because the nations of Earth are so corrupt, they're so evil, they're hiding so much freaking of their cannibalism, murder, atrocities. War is still a fucking crime, people. War is a death to every human suffrage of perseverance, and I mean, the damn word of struggle for reason. War is a constant death of reason. Anyway, reason, that's probably not worded correctly. I'll have to remake that. So don't hold me accountable in that. Very good, but anyway. So I will not allow a United Nations Space Command from the nations of Earth to be in control. What I will allow is people to be growing up in these colonies, and then they will make like a United Nations Space Command. But these colonies will have to reach the size of like 50,000 people before they become a state. In the American model, get 50,000 people, get a governor, or vote for a governor, vote for mayors of big cities and sheriffs and their legal representatives, congressmen, and then they go to any other country in the world or make their own nation out of that stuff they built. Yep. So I will not allow a United Nations Space Command from planet Earth because they are just way too corrupt and they're allowing way too much evil. First, the flying car frees people from the tyranny of other people. That's the whole point of this. See, I can't hardly do anything uh, by the government's reasons because literally every single jet and fighter jet that I got produced, they wouldn't let me make a single component. But I had a main Rip-based supercomputer, which was called that after me and it literally discovered the base royal matter. It was originally named by me, like the $12 million supercomputer, the main mind reading supercomputer. So it was effective at reading my mind. Then it became the main Rip-based supercomputer after I discovered the base royal matter. I was a young man and didn't really think of the consequences of all the turmoil that you have to go through living like this. But anyway, and so you did. I'm just communicating over a spine all the time. I could do anything. I could literally do anything, uh, secretly or non-publicly. But if I come out, they just like turn away and run because they just can't handle the truth and who you really are and where you really look. But um, so so anyway, let's just move on. So the government has got problems that it cannot fix because they just cannot stand up to this reality. The subatomic realm being full of non-particle matter. It's lying for the first densification of non-particle matter is just like antimatter. It will atomize everything. Hard mass wave goes through that. It will just atomize and tear those atoms apart. But once you densify uh, until it's stable and safe, like water, you can it's relatively safe. It will you keep energizing it. It will keep constantly attracting blobs and masses to it, and it'll eventually have forces running 100 trillion times the speed of light through it. So you got a hard mass particle reactor, but the superconductor. So what's happening is this material is shooting out blobs of non-particle matter, most likely, and they freeze it down, and the other dynamics that would affect it are not affecting because the base royal matter, majority of it is being removed, but it's still pushing out more hard structures that if it was surrounded by other energies, warmer energies, it would not work like that. It's just the base royal matter flowing through the material and getting cooled down and stabilized. So the superconductor levitates or stuff like that. But extraterrestrials, they're watching every subatomic movement in the galaxy with supercomputers, the compacted mass of planet Earth there. And typically a starship that has a 100 million mile contrail, which the main Rip-based supercomputer counted, detected of 90 trillion starships with a 100 million mile contrail. In that, the massive data set of the Rip-based telescope lens, which is not was only like a 4-inch light, this thing could literally pick up the mental halo of basically. So, how do I explain that to you? So basically, your brain is exploding into space fabric, and when they were developing ground radar, ground following radar for planes and aircraft, the CIA come across this and they didn't take it all out. This your mind is pushing out a little bit of matter, and it can be detected by more advanced systems. And this signature of intellectual activity into the brain, and this rift-based superior has access to the CIA and the FBI and NASA's database and archives and everything that CIA has ever did, literally. But and so your mind is pushing out this information halo or static, whatever you want to describe it as. But so they can take that information, or it automatically does it itself. It's not the CIA doing anything there. It's a superior that's so damn hyper intelligent, 15 trillion times maxed out thinking every human mind on Earth, and just doing it itself and ripping apart space just enough in the little telescope that they had. So like 100 billion detected extraterrestrial civilizations out there. 90 trillion contrails detected with 100 million miles, the size of a planet. They got them. And the big ships that were like 4 or 20 times the size of the solar system that have encapsulated stars and that are possibly powering them, something. There's a massive extraterrestrial presence in space. And what we got to do is build a miniaturized starship so we get some qualities and some capabilities. And that was found kind of early when they were doing ground radar. Basically, the magnetic field waves or the radar waves will make them do some magnetic field, and have, you can detect tanks, ground radar, and tank stuff. And they were doing that before. Now you got ripped space fabric antennas, dimensionalized stuff that'll be on the contractor's docket to get through the government or something. Or I'd rather just build this all myself publicly and make sure no one can do evil with it. Because if the government does it, who knows what the fuck they'll do. This is my technology that I got started, not the government's property. That's one big deal. The government just love this and just take and run and never give me any money. That's why I have to come out and constantly stand against the government's corruption. They did not discover the base raw matter. I did. And they did not incur the cost I owe the American people through these means. And that's why I got to build a miniaturized Starship industry, and actually pay the American taxpayer back. That's a lot of money. It's not as much compared to what I could actually make, so I'm not really worried if I just go forward. So this technology is only coming about through my means, in which I led, in which I accumulated through this government. So basically, the entire technological revolution was stolen from me, and you take 30 guesses to figure out what actually happened to that. But it's everything you see around you. But anyway, so what I'm trying to do is build the Starship industry so I really repay the American people back and actually build the future of the world correctly, which includes exponential freedom of mankind. If they do have a UNSC, it will not be Earth-based because the corruption is so great and they're so despicable, desperate world leaders. They're so crony capitalist. The United States government is extremely a crony capitalist, and the nations of the world are in conducting crony capitalism to a major extent. We got to stop that and rebuild capitalism where it'll be emboldened forever. Where there's profit and loss. If you do not lose, there's no end to the cost. Malinvestment wrecks the economy. Everybody knows that. Basic economics. Anyway. So we got to just keep going. I just got to keep going and attempting to get this IPO, generate some that. Anyway, so, yep, I'm totally dead now. Like gum. Yeah. So what's let me just go somewhere else because I already forgot what I'm talking about. So I get the hard mass levitator made, and this one levitator levitates 500 2 to 4 story modules for the moon and Mars. Start the industrialization of the moon and Mars before major capitalism and then humanitarian lifestyles, living quarters really actually take place. I mean, people live and want to live on the moon and go there for vacation, whatever, on the moon and Mars. So we got a hard mass levitator doing this. We make other levitators, and we got hard mass teleportated iron ore. We take it out of the volcanoes, we take it out of the mines, and we put it into metal and make steel, the steel that we want, and we levitate these big giant structures up to space and make an orbital shipyard in no time. We weld this shit together in computer structure space fabric. Depending, do we have to make computer structure space fabric hold gas on the weld in space? We need to know that. Or do we just heat up the metal with the hard mass, which is basically heat? It's just densified non-polar matter is what's causing heat and cooling, more or less of it. It's not CO2 for the globe. It's just the planet sucking in the base roll matter, and the particles that the government sprays in the atmosphere are actually just plugging up the pore spaces, making it seemingly more hot. It's not really reflecting sun. That sunlight's not bouncing around very much in there. There's just so much forces from the sun going through the base roll matter. It makes it more hot. That force from that blob and for matter rips off a blob, and that's the equivalent weight of a photon. There's structure singularities. That's basically all particles, but they're all structured and stabilized. I'm pretty sure base no matter. So we get a levitating, flying piece of structural steel going up to make our giant